What makes a person truly powerful? Is it their words, their threats, their ability to command a room, or is it something deeper, something unseen yet undeniable? Imagine standing before a predator in the wild. It doesn't snarl, it doesn't lunge. It simply watches, still, silent, calculating, and somehow that silence is more terrifying than any roar. Or picture a chess grandmaster sitting motionless as his opponent sweats, mind racing, desperate to predict his next move. But he gives away nothing. That is power. Real power isn't loud. It doesn't seek validation. It exists in the quiet confidence of those who don't need to prove themselves. The Stoics understood this well. They knew that true strength comes not from aggression but from control of oneself, one's emotions, the energy one projects into the world. In this video, we'll explore 7 silent strategies from Stoic philosophy that will make your enemies think twice before crossing you. Master these, and you won't need to speak to command respect. Your presence alone will be enough. The greatest power you can wield is not over others, it is over yourself. When your enemies try to provoke you, when they mock, insult, or attempt to rattle your composure, the instinctive response is to react, to defend yourself, to retaliate, to prove that you are not weak. But here's the truth. The moment you react emotionally, you hand them control. Nothing unsettles an enemy more than someone they cannot provoke. When they try to push your buttons and are met with calm indifference, it forces them to question themselves. They don't know how to handle someone who refuses to be manipulated. Your emotional control becomes your weapon, and your composure becomes their greatest frustration. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. Strength does not come from shouting, from aggression, or from seeking revenge. It comes from the ability to remain still in the face of chaos, to rise above provocation, to refuse to let others dictate your emotions." Let me share a story. A man I once knew, let's call him Victor, worked with someone who constantly tried to undermine him. This person would throw sarcastic remarks, challenge him in front of others, and try to get a reaction. At first, Victor played into it, arguing, defending himself, letting his frustration show. But then he realized something. Every time he reacted, his enemy gained the upper hand. So he made a change. The next time an insult came his way, he remained silent. He didn't flinch, didn't argue, didn't acknowledge the attempt to provoke him. And suddenly, the dynamic shifted. His enemy grew frustrated. They lost their power because Victor refused to give it to them. Over time, the provocations stopped entirely. So how do you master your emotions? First, recognize your triggers. Know what unsettles you so you can prepare for it. Second, practice self-discipline. Pause before you react. Take a breath. Control your response. And finally, understand that emotional control is strength, not weakness. At the end of the day, true power lies in mastering yourself. When you stay calm, you remain untouchable. And in a world full of chaos, your composure will be the thing that makes you unstoppable. True confidence doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't beg for attention, nor does it seek approval. Instead, it exists as a quiet force, one that commands respect the moment it enters a room. An unshakable presence is built on self-assurance, not arrogance. When you know who you are and what you stand for, you no longer feel the need to prove anything. Your posture, your movements, your energy, they all radiate strength and control. And here's the truth. Confidence without arrogance is intimidating. When you move with certainty, when you take up space unapologetically, people take notice, not because you demand respect, but because you don't need to ask for it. The Stoics understood this well. Lao once said, "Silence is a source of great strength. It's not always what you say or do that holds power, but rather the quiet certainty you project." Silence isn't weakness, it's control. The one who can walk into a room and own their space without saying a word is the one others instinctively respect. Let me share a story. A man I knew, let's call him Marcus, was never the loudest in the room. He didn't seek attention, nor did he try to impress others. Yet somehow, people respected him instantly. His posture was strong, his movements deliberate, his energy unwavering. When Marcus entered a conversation, people naturally quieted, not because he demanded it, but because his presence commanded it. He didn't need to raise his voice. His presence alone spoke louder than words ever could. So, how do you cultivate this presence? First, stand tall. Your posture influences how others perceive you. Shoulders back, head high, never shrinking. Second, move with intention. Every action should have purpose. And finally, embrace silence. Those who are truly powerful don't need to announce themselves. They simply exist in their strength. At the end of the day, true power is felt, not spoken. Walk into a room with quiet confidence. Own your space and watch how the world begins to respect you without you ever needing to say a word. Let your actions speak. Powerful men do not waste time announcing their greatness. They do not explain, they do not boast. They simply act in a world drowning in empty words and hollow promises. Those who move in silence command the most respect. Everyone talks. They talk about their ambitions, their future successes, their grand visions, but words are cheap. True strength is not in what you say, but in what you do. Your discipline, your resilience, your ability to follow through, these are what define you. A person who consistently delivers results does not need to seek validation. Their actions alone speak for them. When you focus on action, you eliminate the need for explanation. You no longer have to convince others of your worth because they see it in how you carry yourself. They see the results of your effort, the consistency of your discipline, and the quiet determination in your presence. And the best part, your enemies will have nothing to argue against. Words can be twisted, but actions are undeniable. The Stoics understood this well. They believed that virtue, discipline, and resilience were not things to be discussed, but things to be lived. Epictetus once said, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it." The moment you stop talking about your strength and start demonstrating it, you become someone that others cannot ignore, and someone that your enemies cannot undermine. Let me share a story. A man I once knew, let's call him Adrian, was always talking about his ambitions. He would tell everyone about his big plans, about how successful he was going to be. At first, people listened, but after months of inaction, something changed. People stopped taking him seriously. They smiled, nodded, and dismissed his words as just that. Words. Then Adrian made a decision. He stopped talking and started doing. Instead of announcing his goals, he worked in silence every day. He put in the effort, ignored the doubts, and focused on results. Slowly but surely people started to notice, not because he told them, but because they saw the transformation. His success was no longer a theory, it was real, and suddenly, the same people who once ignored him now respected him. So, how do you let your actions speak? First, be consistent. Effort, no matter how small, compounds over time. Show up. Do the work. Let persistence separate you from those who only talk. Second, pursue excellence. Do not settle for mediocrity. Master your craft, sharpen your skills, and strive to be the best at whatever you do. And third, build resilience. Challenges will come. People will doubt you. But if you keep moving forward, your perseverance will be the proof of your strength. At the end of the day, what you do matters far more than what you say. Your enemies may argue with your words, but they cannot deny your results. So stop talking, act. Let your actions speak so loudly that no words are needed. If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights. 4. Never overreact to insults. Nothing exposes weakness more than an emotional reaction to an insult. When someone attacks you with words, the natural instinct is to defend yourself, to argue, to retaliate, to prove them wrong. But here is the truth. The moment you react, you hand them power. When you get angry or flustered, you reveal exactly where your vulnerabilities lie. Your enemies now know which buttons to press, what words can shake you, and what insults can throw you off balance. They don't control you, you give them control. But there is a way to break free from this trap: indifference. Indifference is the ultimate power move. When you refuse to react to an insult, when you remain completely unshaken, you take back control. Your lack of response forces the other person to question themselves. Why aren't you reacting? Why aren't you offended? Why aren't you playing their game? And in that moment of uncertainty, you've already won. This is what the Stoics mastered. Epictetus taught that our emotions should never be dictated by the actions of others. He believed that insults only have power if we give them meaning. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. If someone throws an insult at you and you remain unmoved, the insult dies the moment it is spoken. But if you react, you breathe life into it. You make it real. Let me share a story. A woman I once knew, let's call her Celeste, had a colleague who constantly tried to undermine her. This person would throw sarcastic remarks in meetings, gossip behind her back, and find subtle ways to belittle her. At first, Celeste responded like most people would, defending herself, arguing, trying to prove her worth. But she quickly realized something. Every time she reacted, the insults got worse. Then she made a change. The next time her colleague tried to provoke her, Celeste did nothing. She remained calm, unaffected, indifferent. She didn't defend herself. She didn't acknowledge the insult. She simply continued on as if nothing had happened. And that was when everything shifted. The insults lost their power. Her colleague became frustrated, confused, because they weren't getting the reaction they wanted. Over time, the insults stopped altogether. Celeste had changed the power dynamic by refusing to give away control of her emotions. So, how do you master this skill? First, develop self-awareness. When an insult comes your way, pause, breathe, and recognize that you have the power to decide how you respond. Second, Stay emotionally controlled. The moment you allow someone to trigger you, you've lost and finally embraced indifference. Not every insult deserves a response. In fact, silence is often more powerful than words. At the end of the day, the strongest person is the one who cannot be provoked. When you refuse to react, you strip your enemies of their power. Let them insult, let them mock. It doesn't matter, because their words only have meaning if you allow them to. Stay calm, stay unmoved, and watch how quickly they lose their power over you. Control what they know about you. Power is not just about what you do, it's also about what you allow others to know. In a world where people are constantly watching, analyzing, and trying to figure you out, the more predictable you are, the easier it is for others to manipulate you. Your weaknesses, your ambitions, your insecurities, if you make them obvious, you give people the tools to control you. They know what triggers you. They know what you want. And with that knowledge, they can influence your decisions, push you off balance, or use your own desires against you. The key to staying untouchable is controlling what others know about you. This doesn't mean deception. It doesn't mean lying. It means choosing carefully what you reveal and to whom. When you keep certain things to yourself, your struggles, your next moves, even your emotions, you become unpredictable, and the unpredictable cannot be controlled. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Seneca said, "Appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak." The true strategist understands that power lies in controlling perception. If you are too open, too transparent, people will know exactly how to counter you. But if you hold back, if you reveal only what is necessary, you remain an enigma, impossible to predict, impossible to manipulate. Let me share a story. A man I once knew, let's call him Delman, was always open about his life. He shared his struggles, his frustrations, and even his long-term ambitions with his co-workers. He believed that transparency would earn him trust. But over time, he realized that this openness had made him vulnerable. People began using what he shared against him. If he mentioned feeling overwhelmed, he'd suddenly find himself under even more pressure. If he confided in someone about a challenge, it wasn't long before others were questioning his abilities. His own words were being weaponized against him. So, Delman made a change. He stopped revealing everything. He spoke less about his struggles, shared his ambitions only when necessary, and became more selective about who he trusted. And something remarkable happened. The people started respecting him more because they couldn't predict his every move. They couldn't use his words against him anymore. He regained control, not by fighting, but by becoming unreadable. So, how do you maintain this control? First, be mindful of what you share. Not everyone needs to know your deepest thoughts, your fears, or your plans. Second, embrace mystery. The less predictable you are, the harder it is for others to influence you. And finally, use your strength strategically. Reveal power when necessary. Appear vulnerable when it serves you. Control perception, and you control the game. At the end of the day, the less others know about you, the more power you hold. Protect your inner world. Keep your plans, your struggles, and your emotions guarded. Make it difficult for others to define you, and you become impossible to manipulate. If you've made it this far, drop a comment with "Stay Unpredictable" and give the video a like. Your support means the world and keeps this channel growing. Let's continue learning together. Thank you for watching. Make power moves in silence. The loudest people are rarely the most powerful. Those who constantly announce their plans, their ambitions, and their next big move give away their greatest advantage, the element of surprise. There is something undeniably powerful about moving in silence, about working in the shadows while the world remains unaware of your progress. In a world where everyone is eager to share their dreams, their strategies, and their next steps, restraint is a rare strength. The more you reveal, the more you expose yourself to interference, doubt, and even sabotage. Some will try to discourage you. Others will give unsolicited advice, and a few may even work against you. But when you keep your ambitions private, you eliminate these obstacles before they ever arise. No one can stop what they don't see coming. Here is the truth. Announcing your next step invites unnecessary resistance. When people don't know what your plan is, they can't predict your moves, they can't block your progress, and they can't manipulate your vision. You become a force that is impossible to control. Your silence is your shield, and your results become the only statement that matters. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." The wise do not waste time justifying their path to others. They act, they build, they execute, and when success comes, they do not need to explain anything because their results say it all. Let me share a story. A woman I once knew, let's call her Naomi, had a habit of sharing her every goal with friends and colleagues. She would talk about her upcoming projects, her dreams, and the big things she was working on. At first it felt empowering, but over time she noticed something. The more she talked, the harder things became. People started questioning her choices, offering opinions she never asked for, and even doubting her ability to succeed. And the worst part, she started doubting herself too. The voices of others became distractions, and the more she listened, the more uncertain she felt. Then Naomi decided to make a change. She stopped announcing her plans. Instead of talking about what she was going to do, she just did it. She focused on her work, ignored the noise, and moved in silence. And when she finally succeeded, there was nothing anyone could say because the results were undeniable. Her work spoke louder than any words ever could. So, how do you make power moves in silence? First, keep your plans to yourself. Not everyone needs to know what you're working on. Let your success be a surprise. Second, stay focused. Talking about your goals does nothing. Execution is what matters. And finally, let your results be your proof. People will see your dedication, your discipline, and your accomplishments without you ever needing to explain a thing. At the end of the day, true power is not in what you say, it's in what you do. Keep your ambitions private, work relentlessly, and let your success speak for itself. Move in silence, and let your results make the loudest statement of all. Be unapologetically yourself. There is nothing more powerful than a person who refuses to apologize for who they are. In a world where most people seek approval, adjust their personalities to fit in, and constantly worry about how they are perceived, standing firm in your true identity is an act of defiance. And defiance, when rooted in authenticity, commands both fear and respect. Most people are desperate to be liked. They suppress their opinions, hide their strengths, and dilute their uniqueness just to avoid standing out. But here's the truth. When you stop trying to fit in, you become untouchable. The moment you let go of the need for external validation, you shift the power dynamic. You no longer need to impress anyone, which makes you immune to their judgment. And nothing unsettles people more than someone who doesn't seek their approval. This is why the Stoics emphasized living in accordance with one's true nature. They believed that seeking the approval of others is a trap that leads to misery. Epictetus taught that freedom comes not from being accepted, but from being independent of the opinions of others. When you stop chasing approval, you gain something far more valuable, self-respect, and when you respect yourself, the world follows. Let me share a story. A man I once knew, let's call him Elias, spent years holding himself to fit into different social circles. He laughed at jokes he didn't find funny, downplayed his accomplishments to avoid making others uncomfortable, and constantly adjusted his personality to match those around him. But over time, he began to feel drained, disconnected, and lost. He had spent so long trying to fit in that he no longer knew who he really was. Then Elias made a decision. He stopped pretending. He spoke his mind without hesitation, stood firm in his beliefs, and no longer cared if others agreed with him. And something remarkable happened. People started respecting him more. They admired his confidence, his authenticity, and his unwillingness to conform. And the best part, Elias no longer had to wear a mask to feel accepted. The people who truly valued him stayed, and those who couldn't handle his authenticity faded away. Either way, he won. So, how do you become unapologetically yourself? First, stop seeking validation. You don't need anyone's approval to be who you are. The moment you stop chasing acceptance, you gain true power. Second, embrace your uniqueness. The things that make you different are your greatest strengths. Don't hide them, let them shine. And finally, live by your own standards. Stop following rules designed to keep you small. Set your own path and let your life reflect your true self. At the end of the day, those who live authentically are the ones who cannot be controlled. The world fears what it cannot manipulate. So be unapologetically yourself. Stand firm in your identity and watch as people either respect you or disappear. Either way, you win. At the end of the day, true power comes from within. When you stop seeking approval, when you refuse to shrink yourself to fit into others' expectations, you become untouchable, not because you are trying to impress, but because you have learned to stand fully in your own strength. Own who you are, and the world will have no choice but to respect you. If this resonated with you, drop a comment with power in silence and let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights on mastering yourself and commanding respect effortlessly. Remember, the strongest person is the one who needs no validation. Stay disciplined, stay unshaken, and I'll see you in the next video. Have you ever wondered why silence feels so uncomfortable in a world that never stops talking? We live in an age where every moment is shared. Every thought is posted, and every feeling is broadcasted. But in the noise of constant expression, something sacred is lost. Silence, often mistaken for weakness or indifference, is in truth a mark of deep inner strength. The Stoics knew this well. To speak less is not to be empty, but to be full of clarity, control, and calm. There's a quiet power in holding something back. Not every joy needs applause. Not every wound needs an audience. When you speak less, you observe more, you understand more, and most importantly, you protect what matters most: your peace, your purpose, your power. But what happens when we share too much? And why do we feel the urge to reveal ourselves to a world that doesn't always listen with care? In this video, we'll explore the strength of silence and why guarding your inner world might be the wisest decision you ever make. Take a breath, lean in, and let's uncover the quiet truths together. Truth 1. Not every truth deserves an audience. In a world that thrives on oversharing, choosing silence is an act of strength, not secrecy. The Stoics understood this long before social media existed. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid, said Epictetus. Not everyone deserves to know the details of your inner world, because not everyone listens to understand. Many listen to judge, to gossip, or to gain leverage. The more we expose our struggles, our dreams, our doubts, the more we hand over our peace to people who may not respect it. They may smile outwardly but hold envy or judgment beneath the surface. Silence, in contrast, is your shield. It protects your purpose from contamination and keeps your soul from being shaped by fleeting opinions. A Stoic does not speak to impress, but to express truth when necessary. In times of hardship, we often feel compelled to vent our pain, hoping it will lead to relief. But the Stoics saw value in stillness. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Talking too much about our wounds can keep them open. In silence, we allow ourselves the solitude to reflect, the space to heal, and the clarity to endure with dignity." Look to nature. The seed does not shout about its potential. It grows quietly beneath the soil. So too must our goals be nurtured in silence. Noise invites distraction. Quiet invites focus. When we act without announcing, we reclaim our attention from the crowd and redirect it inward toward what truly matters. In the chaos of modern life, silence becomes sanctuary. It helps us rise above impulsive reaction and respond with reason. It shields our energy from being wasted on meaningless conversations or shallow validation. A Stoic understands that not every opinion is worthy of engagement, and not every emotion needs to be externalized. True strength lies in restraint. The more you say, the more you give away. The less they know, the more grounded you remain. Speak when your words carry weight. Otherwise, let your silence be your philosophy in action. As Marcus Aurelius said, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. So protect your peace, guard your spirit, and remember, silence is not emptiness. It is wisdom, measured and timeless." Truth 2. The quiet strength of mystery. In a time where self-disclosure is celebrated and oversharing is the norm, preserving mystery has become a quiet form of strength. To the Stoic mind, mystery is not manipulation, it is mastery. It is the ability to control how much of your inner world you offer to others. And more importantly, why, as Epictetus reminds us, know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly. Those who truly know themselves have no need to explain themselves to everyone. There is power in restraint. The less you reveal, the more others fill in the blanks, and often they paint a version of you that commands more respect than reality ever could. People are drawn to the unknown. Transparency may build comfort, but mystery builds presence. When every detail is laid bare, predictability follows, and with predictability comes the loss of personal power. A Stoic does not aim to be understood by everyone, nor do they seek validation from public perception. They understand that the more you expose, the easier it is for others to define, control, or even diminish you. But when you hold back, when you choose silence and intention, others are left uncertain. That uncertainty is not weakness, it is your shield. Just as Marcus Aurelius advised, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. The thoughts we guard protect the harmony of the soul. When we give away too much of ourselves too freely, we risk staining that harmony with noise, judgment, and distraction. Boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They allow in only what serves your reason and virtue. Sharing too easily, even with good intentions, can invite misunderstandings, jealousy, or manipulation. Mystery does not mean dishonesty. It means wisdom in knowing what should remain within, and what the world is truly worthy of seeing. In silence, in selectivity, in the art of keeping certain things sacred, we create space to live deliberately, not performatively. Let others wonder. Let your presence speak more than your words. Because in a noisy world, those who move in quiet purpose stand. Or truth 3, how oversharing weakens your sense of self. The Stoics taught that true freedom begins with inner mastery, and inner mastery begins with knowing what to guard. When we overshare, we open the gates of our inner citadel to those who may not have earned the right to enter. Not all who listen are allies. Some gather information not to understand, but to use. As Epictetus warned, be careful with what you reveal, for the truth in the wrong hands becomes a weapon. In revealing too much, our plans, our ambitions, our private struggles, we hand others the power to distract, discourage, or even sabotage. People may smile in your presence and applaud your dreams, but in silence harbor envy or doubt. Some will mimic your ideas. Others will undermine your confidence with subtle jabs dressed as concern. Every word you give them becomes a thread they can pull when the time is right. Silence, on the other hand, is sovereignty. The less others know, the more they speculate, and in speculation lies influence. When your next move is unknown, your direction cannot be intercepted. The Stoics prized this inner stillness, not as secrecy, but as strategic restraint. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy, and the best defense is to deny your enemy a target." Those who always explain themselves, who lay every thought bare, may be liked, but rarely are they respected. Their words become noise, diluted by overuse. But the one who speaks only when necessary, whose voice is chosen like a sword unsheathed only with purpose, that voice echoes, that presence lingers. Mystery in this light becomes not avoidance, but self-respect. It allows your strength to speak without needing translation, and your vulnerabilities to remain protected until entrusted to the right hands, in relationships, personal or professional. This mystery sustains depth and dignity. The moment everything is revealed, the edge dulls, the connection flattens, and others may begin to take you for granted. Worse still are the false friends, the ones who stay close not to uplift, but to compare, to compete, or to quietly resent. They celebrate your success in public, but shrink from it in private. They don't wish for your failure, but they quietly hope you never rise too far above them. These people wear kindness like a cloak, but their presence is a weight on your growth. The Stoic does not harbor paranoia but practices discernment. It is not about shutting everyone out, but about opening the door selectively. Kindness is noble, but blind trust is folly. Share not from the need to be seen, but from the confidence of knowing who sees clearly. Let your life be guided by the virtue of reason, not the hunger for recognition. A true ally, like a true Stoic, needs no constant proof. They stand with you in silence, support you without applause, and listen not just with their ears, but with their character. So protect your words, guard your inner citadel. The world is full of listeners, but few who truly understand. Choose wisely, for not everyone deserves to carry a piece of your story. Truth 4. Guard your vision from distracted ears. Every great dream begins as a quiet spark within. It is fragile, personal, and sacred, something only you can see clearly in the beginning. But when we expose that spark too early, we risk extinguishing it under the cold breath of judgment, comparison, and doubt. The Stoics remind us that not all opinions matter, and not all listeners are worthy of hearing what is still in the making. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know anything about the subject." Oversharing our visions, especially in their infancy, invites a chorus of voices, some supportive, many intrusive. Not everyone who listens does so with empathy. Some listen with skepticism, others with envy, and many simply out of curiosity. Their words may be wrapped in polite concern. "Are you sure that's realistic?" or "What if it doesn't work out?" But underneath such remarks lies fear, often their own, projected onto you. The Stoics would call this external interference a disruption of your inner tranquility. Ataraxia, allowing these voices into your sacred space, replaces rational clarity with emotional turbulence. Even subtle doubt can shake a vision not yet rooted. When we let too many people in on our path, our motivation begins to shift from virtue and purpose to performance and validation. Jealousy is another corrosive force, often hidden behind smiles. Some people do not seek to walk beside you. They seek to measure your steps against their own limitations. If your dream reminds them of what they haven't dared to pursue, they may downplay it, not to protect you, but to comfort themselves. Their discouragement becomes a quiet sabotage. Worse still is the illusion of support from those who listen only to compete or steal. An idea shared before its foundation is laid can be taken and used by someone with more resources or fewer principles. The Stoic answer is not fear, but prudence. As Seneca wrote, "It is more civilized to make fun of life than to bewail it." Protecting your vision is not paranoia, it is wisdom. There is also a hidden cost in speaking too much: the illusion of progress. Talking about your goals may feel rewarding in the moment, but it replaces action with satisfaction. The more we discuss, the less we do. The energy once meant for building gets spent on words, not deeds. In Stoicism, action aligned with virtue is the true path, not projection, not perception. Dreams, like seeds, grow best in silence. They need solitude to take root, discipline to be nourished, and time to flourish. When we guard them, we give them strength. When we share them too freely, we open the door to doubt, pressure, and misdirection. Silence, in this case, is not withholding, it is protecting. It is a choice to nurture something valuable away from the noise of the crowd. Not everyone deserves to hear your vision. Not every audience is a source of strength. Choose with care whom you let into your inner world. Trust the few who water your dreams, not those who drain them. The Stoic builds with intention, not for applause, but for truth. Truth 5. Protect your dreams from negative energy. Happiness, like virtue, thrives in stillness. It does not need an audience. It needs protection in a world obsessed with broadcasting every smile and milestone. The Stoic seeks something far more enduring, a peace that is untouched by opinion. As Epictetus once said, if you want to be happy, stop wishing for things that depend on others. There is a quiet wisdom in keeping joy private. The more we expose our happiness, the more we subject it to external forces, curiosity, envy, judgment. Not everyone who sees your joy will celebrate it. Some will compare it to their own emptiness. Others will subtly question whether you deserve it. Even a careless comment said in passing can leave a shadow over once felt pure. These are not psychological wounds. They are breaches in the harmony of the soul. As the Stoics would describe it, privacy acts as armor. It allows our happiness to grow undisturbed, to remain authentic. The moment we share too soon or too often, we invite expectations, ours and others. Suddenly, we begin to perform rather than simply experience. Joy becomes something we must maintain, justify, or defend. But as Marcus Aurelius warned, never esteem anything as of advantage to you that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect. Living to please the crowd is a slow erosion of the self. This is why the deepest joys are often the quietest ones, the laughs shared in private, the silent moments of success, the unspoken pride of overcoming something difficult without needing applause. When we keep our happiness sacred, we preserve its meaning. It remains rooted in virtue, not in vanity. The same applies to relationships and personal victories. When we invite the world too early into what is still forming, we allow it to distort, influence, or even damage what could have become something lasting. A relationship is strongest when built between two souls, not two profiles performing for a digital stage. And success, when celebrated in silence or with a trusted few, retains its purity. It is lived, not displayed. The Stoic path does not reject joy. It refines it. It teaches us to be present in our experience, not distracted by its presentation, to enjoy what is good without fearing others' reactions. In doing so, we guard our inner peace from the storm of comparison and commentary. Not everything needs to be shared. Not every joy needs to be witnessed. When happiness is nurtured in silence, it grows free from expectation, from interference, from judgment. And when it has matured, it will not ask for recognition. It will simply radiate from the inside out. Truth 6. Why vulnerability can be misused against you. In Stoic thought, vulnerability is not a flaw, but it is a force that must be respected. To open oneself is a noble act, but only when done with discernment. Seneca reminds us, a sword never kills anybody. It is a tool in the killer's hand. Likewise, our openness in the wrong hands can be turned into a weapon, not of understanding, but of manipulation. In an ideal world, revealing our fears and wounds would lead to compassion and connection. But the Stoic is trained to see the world not as we wish it to be, but as it is. Not everyone who listens is a friend. Some nod in empathy while storing your struggles as ammunition. Others speak gently while quietly taking mental notes. Vulnerability becomes dangerous when handed to those who have not earned the right to carry it. Manipulation often begins where misplaced trust lies. If someone knows your fear of abandonment, they may use silence as punishment. If they know you're longing for approval, they may withhold praise to control your emotions. This is not kindness, it is coercion, and it corrodes your autonomy from within. In Stoicism, this loss of inner sovereignty is the greatest threat to the soul's peace. Betrayal is another face of misused vulnerability. In anger or envy, what you once shared in confidence may be twisted, mocked, or exposed. A moment of openness becomes a future of regret. And while the Stoic does not fear betrayal, they prepare for it not by closing their heart, but by choosing their confidence wisely. The modern world, amplified by digital platforms, tempts us to share everything. But what is posted today can be repurposed tomorrow. A confession made in pain may later resurface as ridicule. The Stoic understands that nothing external, no applause, no sympathy, is worth the loss of inner control. As Marcus Aurelius warned, the more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Guarding vulnerability does not mean masking pain. It means understanding that not all battles are fought publicly. Some wounds heal better in solitude. Some truths grow stronger when held in silence. We do not need to be invulnerable, but we must be selective. Just as we would not hand our home's keys to a stranger, we must not give away the keys to our emotional citadel carelessly. Boundaries in Stoic practice are not barriers. They are expressions of self-respect. True allies do not demand your openness. They earn it. They do not use your struggles as leverage, but as an invitation to stand with you. And if you walk the path of reason, you'll learn it is not unkind to protect your peace. It is wisdom in action. The strength lies not in how much we reveal, but in how well we discern. Vulnerability is powerful, but only when it is guarded by virtue and shared through choice, not impulse. Truth 7. The impact of letting actions speak louder than words. In the Stoic worldview, it is not what we say that defines us. It is what we do and how consistently we do it. Words, though powerful, are fleeting. They can be misunderstood, twisted, or forgotten. But actions leave a mark. They reveal character, build trust, and speak truths far deeper than any speech could express. As Epictetus taught, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. The world is filled with noise, opinions, promises, declarations. In such an environment, the person who chooses to move in silence, to act without the need for constant validation, stands apart. While many boast of intentions, the Stoic silently follows through. Their strength lies not in how loudly they speak, but in how deliberately they live. To act with purpose is to build a reputation grounded in reliability. People remember the quiet friend who showed up in hard times, the mentor who led by example, the parent who lived with integrity. These actions endure long after words fade. In contrast, those who speak often but do little find their voices gradually losing weight, because repetition without follow-through turns speech into noise. Letting action lead also spares us from unnecessary conflict. When judged or underestimated, the Stoic does not defend with words. They let results speak. As Marcus Aurelius put it, Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. A quiet achievement silences louder critics more effectively than any argument. Action also fosters inner peace. When we focus on doing rather than discussing, we conserve energy and build momentum. We avoid the trap of performative living and step into a deeper rhythm, one of discipline, clarity, and silent confidence. There is no need to compete for attention when your life itself becomes the message. Those who let their actions speak often carry a grounded presence. They inspire not by shouting from the rooftops, but by embodying values with unwavering consistency. In doing so, they remind us that true transformation requires not announcement, but alignment with virtue, reason, and quiet strength. In the end, the Stoic does not aim to impress, but to express their principles through action, because the most powerful statement you can make is not what you say, but what you consistently do. Truth 8. Live for yourself, not for validation. Living for yourself is one of the greatest acts of Stoic freedom. Yet many trade that freedom for approval, chasing the applause of others while silencing their own inner voice. In doing so, they surrender their autonomy, seeking worth in what lies beyond their control. As Epictetus warned, if you wish to be free, do not wish for anything that depends on others. Validation is fleeting, one moment praised, the next forgotten. When we shape our choices around how others will perceive us, we abandon our path and begin walking theirs. Oversharing, often mistaken for authenticity, becomes a performance, one that distracts us from living in alignment with reason and virtue. The Stoic does not need an audience to confirm their value. They act with intention, guided by what is right, not what is popular. True confidence isn't loud. It doesn't seek applause. It lives in stillness, in quiet decisions, in the dignity of being misunderstood but undeterred. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more. That is poor." The same is true for praise. To live fully, live inwardly. Cherish your privacy. Trust your values. Let your fulfillment come not from validation, but from virtue. So let me leave you with this. Will you keep chasing validation? Or will you choose to live quietly, with purpose for yourself? Not everything needs to be shared. Some dreams grow stronger in silence. Some peace is only found in privacy. Protect your inner world. Guard what matters. Let your life speak softly but powerfully. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to subscribe for more insights on how silence, stillness, and strength can transform the way we live. And in the comments, just write, "Stay silent." Remember, you don't need to explain your worth, just live it. And in the next video, we'll go even deeper into the Stoic art of choosing peace over noise. Have you ever noticed how people reveal their true nature when they face adversity? A friend becomes a stranger. An admirer turns into a critic. Hard times strip away the masks, leaving only what is real. Not all advice is wisdom. Age does not guarantee intelligence, just as experience does not always lead to clarity. If you seek poor judgment, ask everyone for their opinion. If you want to see someone's true character, disagree with them. Your children will not follow your words. They will follow your example. The easiest way to let go of someone is not to erase them, but to stop giving them space in your mind. Small disciplines lead to great freedoms. If you can master the little rules, you can break the big ones with purpose. Be wary when your enemy praises you. Not all compliments come from goodwill. The purpose of life is not to chase happiness, but to cultivate it from within. A fulfilled life is built in the present, not in the uncertain future. And if you believe in the righteousness of your values, let your actions, not just your words, be the proof. Remember, the best revenge against those who wish you harm is not anger, it is indifference and joy. Today we uncover the two types of people an intelligent person silently walks away from. Pay close attention. Recognizing them could save you years of wasted energy. 1. Dangerous people. An intelligent person understands that the weight of one's life is not carried by fate alone, but by the hands that reach toward them, the company they choose to keep. More than circumstances, more than external trials, the people in your orbit shape the direction of your journey. They either sharpen your mind, strengthen your spirit, and push you toward wisdom, or they drag you into chaos, strip you of clarity, and bury you beneath burdens not your own. A wise soul does not cling to relationships that dim their light. Far better to walk alone in peace than to be entangled in the wreckage of those who thrive on conflict. Dangerous people do not announce themselves with flashing warnings. They do not arrive draped in shadows or speak with voices laced with menace. Instead, they come as friends, lovers, mentors, disguised by familiarity, cloaked in charm. Their presence feels warm at first, comforting even, but over time, something shifts. You find yourself more exhausted than uplifted. Doubts creep in where confidence once stood. Their words, once coated in admiration, begin to cut deeper, laced with subtle critiques and manipulation. At first, the damage is almost imperceptible, a single crack in the foundation of your peace. But left unchecked, it spreads until the very structure of your mind begins to crumble. Some of these people operate through deceit. They twist truth until it serves their will, painting illusions that make you question your own judgment. Others thrive on discord, never content unless the air is thick with tension, drawing you into battles that serve no purpose but their own amusement. And then there are those who do not strike with violence, but with slow erosion, stealing your energy, your joy, and your sense of self until you look in the mirror and no longer recognize who you have become. These are the most insidious, for they do not break you with a single blow but unravel you thread by thread. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, and what determines the quality of your thoughts more than the voices that surround you? If you spend your days entangled with deceit, surrounded by negativity, immersed in manipulation, then no amount of personal strength will save you from its effects. Consider the mind as a sacred garden. Every interaction plants a seed. Some grow into wisdom, others into thorns. Leave the wrong company unchecked, and soon your mind is overrun with weeds, suffocating every possibility of growth. The temptation, of course, is to hold on, to believe that you can change them, to convince yourself that they do not mean harm, that perhaps you are imagining the cracks in the foundation. We cling to relationships long past their worth, out of guilt, out of history, out of hope that something salvageable remains. But Seneca reminds us, associate with those who will make you a better person, and welcome those whom you yourself can improve. To linger in the presence of those who corrode your peace is not loyalty, it is self-betrayal. Consider the great rulers, the philosophers, the minds that shaped history. Did they rise to wisdom by entangling themselves in meaningless disputes, by allowing deceitful men to whisper poison into their ears, No, they chose their confidence with precision. They guarded their energy as one would guard a treasure, and when necessary, they walked away without hesitation. The greatest power is not found in fighting every battle, it is in knowing which battles are beneath you. Some people will distort reality until you no longer trust your own instincts. They will twist your words, turn your kindness against you, and paint themselves as the victim. When you finally step away, there are those who crave control, not through open force but through subtle domination, making you doubt your choices, belittling your victories, keeping you just uncertain enough to remain within their grasp. And then there are the betrayers, the ones who claim loyalty until the moment it is inconvenient. They pledge their allegiance when it suits them, only to disappear when the winds shift. Trust is fragile. It takes years to build, moments to shatter, and often a lifetime to repair. But here is the wisdom of the Stoics. Confrontation is not necessary. A wise person does not waste energy seeking vengeance, proving themselves right, or changing the unchangeable. They do not rage against the storm. They simply step inside. There is no virtue in exhausting oneself for those who do not wish to understand. A lion does not lower itself to bark back at dogs. A river does not argue with the stones in its path. It simply flows around them. So too does the intelligent individual refuse to seek approval from those who were never meant to walk alongside them. They turn away, not in anger, not in hatred, but with quiet certainty. To some this may seem harsh, but is it cruelty to protect your peace? Is it selfish to remove yourself from those who siphon your spirit, twist your emotions, or entangle you in their endless dramas? The world is filled with people who demand your time, yet disregard its value, who expect your loyalty, yet offer none in return. The truly wise understand that time is life's most irreplaceable currency, too precious to be scattered among the undeserving. When you recognize such a presence in your life, the question is not if you should walk away, but how. The most powerful departure is not in words, not in grand declarations, not in emotional outbursts. It is in silence. Withdraw your engagement. Do not offer explanations, for explanations invite argument. Do not seek closure, for closure is a privilege, and not everyone deserves it. Erect boundaries like walls of stone, unyielding to guilt, unmoved by persuasion. Your well-being is justification enough. Let your absence speak what words cannot. There is a story of Diogenes, the philosopher who rejected the false glamour of power and prestige. When Alexander the Great, conqueror of nations, stood before him and offered wealth, recognition, anything he desired, Diogenes did not bow. He did not fret. He did not argue. He merely asked the emperor to step aside. As he was blocking the sunlight, here was a man who understood true freedom, not in the ability to conquer, but in the ability to remain unaffected. Dangerous people, whether they wield power or manipulation, hold no sway over those who know the value of their own peace. Not every fight is worth engaging in. Not every betrayal deserves a response. Not every person earns a place in your life. To remove dangerous people is not an act of bitterness. It is an act of wisdom. They may plead, claiming you owe them your presence, your patience, your endurance, but you owe no one your energy if all they do is drain it. You owe no one your time if they do not respect it, and you owe no one your loyalty if they have not earned it. Epictetus, who rose from slavery to wisdom, taught us this: do not waste breath persuading those blind to your truth. Live your philosophy and let your life be the argument. The intelligent do not beg to be understood by those who refuse to see. They walk their path, knowing that the right people will walk beside them, not against them. And what a liberation it is to sever the tithes that weigh you down, to step into a life unburdened, a mind unshackled from the expectations of others, a spirit free to move toward its highest potential. Walking away is not weakness. It is power. It is the understanding that your time, your energy, your tranquility are treasures too precious to be wasted. Picture yourself standing atop a mountain, the air crisp, the horizon stretching before you. This is the freedom that awaits when you shed those who diminish you. The greatest minds in history did not squander their years reshaping the unyielding or seeking approval from the indifferent. They honed their purpose, nurtured their peace, and let the rest fall away. And so, when you encounter someone who deceives, manipulates or drains you, do not hesitate, do not explain, do not argue. Simply walk away, not in anger, not in resentment, but in quiet, unshakable certainty. Second, wise people. An intelligent person does not merely stumble upon wisdom. They cradle it, nurture it, and wield it with precision. Wisdom is not a trophy to flaunt or a sermon to preach. It is a quiet force, a river etching its path through unyielding stone, not with violence, but with patience and intent. The truly wise do not exhaust themselves proving their worth to the world. Instead, they turn inward, refining their thoughts, tempering their actions, and mastering their responses to life's ceaseless churn. They understand that wisdom is not a gift to be squandered on deaf ears, but a flame to be guarded, offered only to those who seek its light. Too often, people cling to a flawed belief that wisdom must be shared indiscriminately, that truth must be shouted from rooftops, that knowledge must flood every conversation. Yet, this is a delusion born of vanity. Wisdom is not a torch to hurl into the dark for those too stubborn to see. It is a beacon, steady and unyielding, illuminating the way for those humble enough to follow. Some hunger for truth, others crave only the comfort of their own convictions. To wrestle with the latter is to pour water into a vessel already brimming, futile and exhausting. As Epictetus, the Stoic sage, observed, no man can learn what he believes he already knows. When faced with a mind sealed shut by pride, the wise do not batter at its gates. They withdraw, not in defeat, but in discernment, preserving their energy for soil more fertile. Silence in this way becomes a fortress of strength. The world teems with those who mistake noise for brilliance, who chase victory in petty disputes rather than the quiet pursuit of understanding. But an intelligent soul knows that truth does not bend to the clamor of voices. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, penned a timeless truth: the opinion of 10,000 is worthless if none grasp the matter at hand. A chorus of ignorance does not forge reality, nor does the din of argument crown its victor. The wise do not tether their peace to the approval of the crowd. They live their wisdom not as a performance, but as a practice, a steady rhythm beneath the chaos. In life, you will cross paths with those who sap your spirit, not through malice alone, but through the sheer weight of their presence. These are the perennial complainers who shun change, the advice seekers who discard every word you offer, the questioners who probe not to learn but to spar. They are leeches of time and vitality, giving nothing in return. A wise person reads these signs swiftly and acts decisively. They do not linger to justify their retreat or broadcast their exit. They simply fade from the scene, choosing serenity over the mire of fruitless entanglement. Consider the tale of Diogenes, the cynic philosopher who roamed ancient Greece with a lantern in daylight, seeking an honest man. One day, a pompous scholar approached him, eager to debate the nature of virtue. Diogenes, unimpressed, sat silently, peeling an orange. The scholar prattled on, piling arguments upon arguments, until finally he demanded, "Why do you not respond? Have you no wisdom to share?" Diogenes looked up, offered a single slice of fruit, and said, "If you were hungry for truth, you'd taste it instead of talking it to death." Then he walked away. The scholar, stunned, was left with his words and his emptiness. Diogenes knew what many fail to grasp. Wisdom is wasted on those who prefer the sound of their own voice to the substance of another's insight. The intelligent do not squander their breath on such souls. They reserve it for those who approach with open hands, not clenched fists. This is the heart of true wisdom, not in bending others to your will but in commanding your own. The wise do not look to the world to deliver their joy, nor do they hang their peace on the whims of circumstance. They forge tranquility within, brick by brick. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "You hold dominion over your mind, not the storms beyond your walls. Grasp this, and strength will follow." The intelligent do not chase the fleeting praise, applause, or shallow delights. They find richness in what they can release, the need for validation, the weight of resentment, the illusion of control over others. To live without these is to live free. Yet wisdom extends beyond silence and self-mastery. It lies also in the art of selection, knowing who to embrace and who to let drift away. Some, when shown the mirror of truth, turn their gaze aside, not from blindness but from dread. To see would demand they shed their comfortable delusions, and so they cling to shadows instead. The wise do not labor to repaint such souls or conjure excuses for their flaws. They do not cling to the hope of change when the evidence whispers permanence. Acceptance becomes their shield. They see people as they are, not as they might wish them to be, and with that clarity, they move forward, quietly, resolutely, leaving behind those who refuse to rise. There is a saying, "The first to apologize shows courage, the first to forgive reveals strength, and the first to forget finds joy." But an intelligent person knows a deeper truth. Forgiveness does not mandate closeness. They release grudges, for to carry them is to drag chains through the dust. Yet they do not linger near those who trample their values time and again. A mistake that humbles you outshines a triumph that inflates you. But a soul that repeats its errors without learning is a cycle best broken. The wise forgive, yes, but they do not forget the lessons carved by others' actions. Kindness, too, must be wielded with care. The line between compassion and folly is thin, and the wise tread it with eyes wide open. They extend a hand to those who seek to climb, but they do not cast pearls before those who would trample them. Seneca, the Stoic statesman, counseled, "Walk with those who lift you higher, and lift those you can in turn." There is no virtue in enduring the weight of manipulators who twist generosity into a weapon. The intelligent pour their kindness into vessels that hold it well. Those who grow, who give, who honor the exchange. To do otherwise is not nobility, it is naivety dressed as virtue. Words, like arrows, fly only once. A wise person knows their power and releases them sparingly. In an age where tongues wag for the sake of sound, silence emerges as a rare and potent ally. It is said that a quiet smile can answer more than 1,000 arguments, a truth rooted not in cowardice but in mastery. To stand unmoved by every taunt or barb is to wield a strength few possess. The intelligent do not dance to the tune of every provocation. They choose their steps, knowing that peace lies not in reaction but in restraint. Time, peace, and energy, these are the treasures of the wise. Guarded fiercely and spent with purpose, they pick their battles not out of fear, but out of clarity, recognizing that not every hill is worth the climb. They weigh their words, their forgiveness, their farewells, shaping their world with intention. They surround themselves with those who sharpen their minds and stir their souls, companions who challenge, inspire, and reflect the best of what they strive to be. To walk away from the rest is not disdain, it is discipline. This act of departure carries no fanfare. The wise do not storm off in rage or pen manifestos of their discontent. They slip away like dusk into night, effortless, inevitable, and absolute. Their silence speaks louder than any tide ever could. Some may call it cold, even cruel, to sever ties without a word. But is it selfish to shield your serenity? Is it harsh to step back from those who siphon your spirit, twist your goodwill, or drag you into their tempest? The most awakened minds know that time is life's truest coin, and they spend it only on what enriches them. Picture a weary traveler crossing a desert, his water skin nearly dry. Along the way he meets two men. The first begs for a sip, then another, then demands the skin itself, offering nothing but complaints about the heat. The second, parched but resolute, asks only for a single drop, then shares a tale of a hidden spring ahead. The traveler gives to the second, not the first, and presses on. Why? Because wisdom lies in knowing where your gifts bear fruit. So it is with people. The intelligent do not pour themselves into bottomless pits. They seek the springs, those rare souls who repay kindness with growth, who meet effort with effort. When you encounter someone who spurns progress, who mocks your boundaries, who thrives on discord or deception, do not falter, do not plead, do not fight to be heard. Turn away, not with bitterness, not with a heavy heart, but with the calm assurance of one who knows their worth. The greatest power is not in winning every clash, but in discerning which clashes matter at all. An intelligent person cuts off two types, those who refuse to grow and those who refuse to let others rise. They do so not with a blade, but with a step, quiet, firm, and final. In the end, wisdom is not a crown to wear, but a compass to follow. It guides the intelligent through the noise, past the traps of ego and exhaustion, toward a life of purpose and peace. They do not need to announce their departure from the unworthy. Their path, clear and unwavering, says it all, mastering the art of letting go. The past is a place of lessons, not a home to live in. If you hold on to what is gone, you allow it to control your future. Regret, guilt, and nostalgia are heavy weights to carry, and the longer you hold them, the slower you move. The wisest people understand this. They do not dwell on what was, they focus on what can be. Life is always moving forward, And so must you. Live for what today has to offer, not for what yesterday has taken away. Difficulties are not punishments, they are tests. The strongest souls are those who have walked through fire, not those who have avoided it. Hardships shape you, refine you, and reveal what you are truly capable of. Complaining about challenges does not remove them, only action does. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. The obstacles you face are not there to stop you. They are there to show you who you really are." Anger is a wildfire. It burns everything in its path, including the one who holds it. It makes the mouth work faster than the mind, leading to words that cut deeper than any blade. But an intelligent person knows that anger is a choice. They do not allow emotions to dictate their actions. Instead, they master their reactions, understanding that calmness is a form of power. In a world full of noise, the ability to remain silent is a rare and valuable strength. People are rarely jealous of you. They are jealous of your success, your peace, and your ability to move forward while they remain stuck. But jealousy is a reflection, not a reality. It reveals more about the person feeling it than the one it is directed at. Do not waste your time worrying about those who envy you. Instead, focus on yourself. Keep growing, keep building, keep moving forward. The best way to silence jealousy is to live so fully that their opinions no longer matter. A sign of true intelligence is knowing how little you actually know. The more you grow, the more you realize that wisdom is not about having all the answers. It's about asking the right questions. It's about knowing when to walk away, when to stand firm, and when to let go. It's about choosing peace over conflict, clarity over chaos, and progress over stagnation. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. Drop a comment with just 3 words. Let them go. Let this be a reminder that sometimes the most powerful act of intelligence is the quiet decision to walk away. Thank you for watching. Every choice you make shapes your future. Choose wisely, live intentionally, and remember, true strength lies not in fighting every battle, but in knowing which battles are not worth fighting at all. See you in the next video, where we'll dive even deeper into mastering life with wisdom and clarity. Stay strong, stay focused, and keep moving forward. Have you ever walked into a room and felt an invisible wall rise between you and others? As if without a word respect was already slipping through your fingers? It's a painful truth. But sometimes we are our own worst enemies. Our habits, small, unnoticed, and ingrained, can silently erode the way people see us. As the Stoics taught, character is destiny. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Yet many of us unknowingly adopt behaviors that push others away, making them question our strength, reliability, or integrity. Today, on Stoic Lens, we're uncovering 6 subtle but destructive habits that can make people lose respect for you instantly. These sides duck to sides actuary reputation. They weaken your inner discipline and self-respect. But here's the good news. Awareness is the first step to mastery. By the end of this video, you'll not only recognize these toxic habits, but also learn how to replace them with stronger, more stoic principles. Are you ready to take control of the way the world sees you? Starting from within, let's begin. Gossiping. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. B1. Marcus Aurelius. Gossip may seem harmless, just casual talk, a way to connect, but in reality, it's a quiet assassin of respect. The moment you speak about someone behind their back, you send a signal not just about them, but about yourself. Those listening may laugh or nod, but deep down, a question forms. If they speak this way about others, what do they say about me? Gossip is dangerously easy. It masquerades as bonding, an innocent way to feel included. But true connection isn't built on breaking others down. It's built on trust and integrity. Seneca said, "It is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness." Gossip is the easy road, but it leads to nowhere worth going. Think about it. Every time you discuss someone's flaws, you divert attention from your own growth. It's far simpler to dissect another's mistakes than to confront your own. But does it make you stronger, wiser, respected? No. It only reveals insecurity, not strength. The impact of gossip stretches further than you think. It damages not only the person being talked about, but also the one doing the talking. Over time, people stop confiding in you. Friendships become shallow, colleagues keep their distance, and you may wonder why certain relationships never deepen. The truth, they don't trust you, not because they dislike you, but because they fear that their words and struggles will become your next topic of conversation. And in today's world, where every word can be recorded, shared and magnified, gossip carries heavier consequences than ever. A careless remark can spread like wildfire, damaging not just personal relationships, but even careers. A single moment of indulgence can have lasting effects. So ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth trading your integrity for a fleeting moment of relevance? The Stoics would say no. Epictetus reminded us, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. There is strength in restraint. The next time gossip arises, challenge yourself. Instead of engaging, redirect the conversation. Say, I'd rather not talk about them when they're not here to speak for themselves, or simply steer the discussion towards something meaningful. People will notice. They may not say it aloud, but their respect for you will grow. The man who refuses to gossip is the man others trust, admire, and turn to, not for drama but for wisdom. And that kind of reputation is built not by words, but by action. So, the question is, who do you want to be? The person others respect for their integrity, or the one they avoid because they fear what you might say behind their back? The choice is yours, and it shapes your character more than you realize. Being passive-aggressive. Passive aggression is one of the most destructive habits, yet many people don't even realize they have it. It's the cold dim fine when you're clearly upset, the sarcastic comment instead of an honest response, the silent treatment when you're hurt but unwilling to talk. At first, it might seem like a way to avoid direct confrontation, but in reality, it's one of the fastest ways to lose respect. Passive-aggressive behavior creates confusion, frustration, and emotional distance. People can sense when you're upset, but when you refuse to communicate openly, you leave them in the dark. Instead of fostering understanding, you create tension. Instead of solving problems, you let them fester. Epictetus wisely said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When you respond to difficulties with indirect hostility rather than clarity, you hurt not just others but yourself. Think about how many relationships, romantic, professional, or personal, have suffered because of unspoken resentment. How often have you expected someone to just know why you're upset? And when they didn't, you became even more frustrated. The harsh truth is this: no one can read your mind. Expecting people to decode your emotions rather than expressing them clearly is unfair to both you and them. Let's take an example. Imagine a man named John who constantly felt unappreciated by his partner. Instead of telling her how he felt, he would give her the cold shoulder, make snarky remarks, or sigh dramatically, hoping she'd figure it out. Over time, his behavior created so much emotional distance that she started avoiding deep conversations altogether. By the time John realized his passive aggression was pushing her away, it was almost too late. Now ask yourself, how many of my relationships have been affected by this habit? Have people distanced themselves from me because they found it exhausting to guess what I'm really thinking? The more you avoid direct communication, the more you teach people that they can't trust you to be honest. And when trust erodes, so does respect. Marcus Aurelius once advised, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, stop hiding behind emotional games. If something bothers you, address it calmly and directly. The next time you're tempted to send a passive-aggressive text, like "Wow, must be nice to have so much free time," pause. Ask yourself, what am I actually trying to say? Why can't I just be honest? Most passive-aggressive behavior is rooted in fear. Fear of confrontation, fear of rejection, fear of being vulnerable. But avoiding direct communication doesn't prevent conflict. It only delays and magnifies it. In truth, healthy conflict strengthens relationships when handled with honesty and respect. Difficult conversations build trust and understanding. This principle applies to the workplace as well. If a colleague fails to pull their weight, dropping hints or sending passive-aggressive emails won't fix the problem. A mature, respected leader addresses issues directly. No one trusts or admires a person who plays mind games or avoids difficult discussions. Respect is earned by those who communicate with clarity and confidence. So what would change in your life if you replaced passive aggression with honest communication? The answer is simple. People would trust you more. They would respect you more. You would earn a reputation as someone who is emotionally mature, strong, and capable of handling life's challenges without resorting to silent resentment. Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." If you continue justifying passive-aggressive behavior, you'll never grow beyond it. You'll believe you're avoiding drama when, in reality, you're creating more of it. The next time you feel the urge to make a sarcastic remark, give someone the cold shoulder, or drop passive hints, take a deep breath. Ask yourself, what am I really trying to achieve? Could this be resolved with an open, honest conversation? Almost always, the answer is yes. By replacing passive aggression with directness and clarity, you will not only strengthen your relationships, but also gain a deeper sense of self-respect. And at the end of the day, isn't that what we all seek? To be respected, not for the games we play, but for the strength and honesty we embody. 3. Never taking responsibility. Few things destroy respect faster than refusing to take responsibility. We've all met people who always have an excuse, blaming co-workers, bad luck, or circumstances beyond their control. Maybe at times you've caught yourself doing the same. But here's the truth. When you constantly shift the blame, you send a clear message: you are not in control of your own life. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Life will challenge you, but how you respond, whether by owning your actions or making excuses, defines your character." Blaming others may offer temporary relief, but it ultimately weakens you. It makes you dependent on external factors rather than your own ability to adapt and grow. Think of Michael Jordan, one of the greatest athletes of all time. He once said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I was trusted to make the game-winning shot and missed. I have failed over and over again, and that is why I succeed." He didn't blame referees, coaches, or teammates. He owned every failure and used it as fuel to improve. That's what separates those who are respected from those who are dismissed. Ask yourself, what could I achieve if I stopped making excuses and took full responsibility for my actions? Taking responsibility isn't about beating yourself up. It's about recognizing that you have the power to change, improve, and move forward. When you own your mistakes, people respect you more. You become reliable, trustworthy, and someone others can count on. On the other hand, if you dodge responsibility, people start distancing themselves. They see you as unreliable, someone who always has an excuse instead of a solution. In today's world, where so many avoid accountability, those who take ownership stand out. They rise higher, earn more trust, and gain more opportunities. Seneca said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that things are difficult." Avoiding responsibility doesn't protect you, it weakens you. The next time you catch yourself making an excuse, pause, ask, what can I learn? How can I turn this into an opportunity for growth? The more you practice this, the more respect you will earn, not just from others, but from yourself. 4. Lack of basic hygiene. Personal hygiene might seem like common sense, but you'd be surprised how often it's overlooked. And nothing makes people lose respect for you faster than poor hygiene. Whether it's unkempt hair, wrinkled clothes, or body odor that turns heads for the wrong reasons, neglecting your appearance sends a silent but powerful message. I don't care about myself or about others. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In many ways, how you present yourself physically is a reflection of your mindset. If you neglect basic hygiene, it suggests a deeper lack of discipline, an area of your life where you've let things slip. Stoicism teaches that self-respect is built through small daily habits, and hygiene is one of the simplest but most telling indicators of self-discipline. First impressions matter more than ever. Before you even speak, people make judgments based on your appearance. If you walk into a meeting looking disheveled or smelling unpleasant, it doesn't matter how intelligent or capable you are. People will be too distracted to take you seriously. It's not vanity, it's human nature. We are wired to respect those who carry themselves with care and presence. But hygiene isn't just about how others see you, it's about how you see yourself. When you neglect it, you unconsciously reinforce feelings of laziness, low self-worth, or even depression. On the other hand, maintaining hygiene is an act of control, a simple but powerful way to remind yourself that you dictate how you show up in the world. Marcus Aurelius advised, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength, even in tough times. You can control how you present yourself. And let's be honest, good hygiene isn't a monumental task. Shower regularly, brush your teeth, wear clean clothes, and groom yourself. These small actions have a huge impact on your confidence and how others perceive you. When you look and feel your best, you naturally command more respect. People may never tell you outright that your hygiene is an issue, but they will act on it. They'll avoid sitting near you, engaging in long conversations, or inviting you to social events. It's not personal, they just don't want to be uncomfortable. And over time, this silent distancing can cost you opportunities, friendships, and respect. Seneca once said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Self-improvement isn't just about deep philosophy or mental toughness. It's also about mastering the small, everyday habits, and something as simple as maintaining good hygiene is a reflection of that discipline. When you take care of yourself, you're telling the world and yourself that you are someone worth respecting. 5. Constant complaining. Nothing drains respect faster than someone who constantly complains. At first, venting might feel like harmless release, but when it becomes a habit, it sends a clear message. I focus on problems, not solutions. People don't admire those who always find something wrong. They respect those who rise above challenges. Think about the person at work who always complains. The boss is unfair, the workload is too heavy, the coffee is bad. At first you might sympathize, but over time their negativity becomes exhausting and you start avoiding them. Why? Because negativity is contagious. If you surround yourself with complaints, you start seeing the world through the same pessimistic lens. Complaining doesn't just push others away, it poisons your own mindset. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Life will always present challenges, but the way you respond, whether by seeking solutions or dwelling on problems, defines your character. Constant complaining is a sign of weakness, an unconscious declaration that you are powerless. But the Stoics remind us that we always have control over how we respond. Consider this: a man spends years complaining about his job, his boss, his co-workers, his salary. His friends listen. At first, but eventually, they grow tired of his negativity. He never takes action to improve his situation, find a new job, or even shift his mindset. In the end, his complaints not only make his work life miserable, but also push his friends away. The worst part, he never realizes that he was the source of his own unhappiness. Ask yourself, have I fallen into this habit? It's easy to get caught in a cycle of frustration, complaining about relationships, work, or life's daily inconveniences. But here's the truth. People respect those who seek solutions, not those who dwell on problems. More importantly, you'll respect yourself more when you develop resilience instead of bitterness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The next time you catch yourself complaining, pause. Ask yourself, can I change this? If yes, take action. If not, accept it and move on. This shift in mindset will not only improve your own life, but also change the way others see you. Complaining is a trap. It doesn't solve problems. It doesn't bring happiness. And it certainly doesn't earn respect. What does? facing challenges with calm strength and wisdom. Instead of being the person who brings negativity into a room, be the one who brings solutions, perspective, and resilience. When you embody this mindset, not only will others admire you, you'll also feel more in control of your own life. And that is true power. 6. Being chronically late. It might seem like a small habit, but chronic lateness speaks volumes about who you are. When you're consistently late, whether for work, social events, or casual meetups, you send an unspoken message. My time is more valuable than yours. It may not be intentional, but that's how people perceive it. And over time, it erodes their respect for you. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Being late is a form of wasting time, not just your own, but also that of others. Even if you have a great excuse, habitual lateness signals that you're unreliable. People start adjusting their expectations, assuming you won't be on time, and that's not the kind of reputation you want. Think of how different it feels when someone always shows up on time. It shows they respect your time, their commitments, and themselves. Being punctual isn't just about courtesy, it's about discipline, and discipline is at the core of Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." Being on time is a simple yet powerful way to show integrity. Now, ask yourself, how often have you been late because you mismanaged your schedule? How many times has rushing out the door caused unnecessary stress? Chronic lateness doesn't just inconvenience others, it creates anxiety for you. Always being behind schedule puts you in a state of constant catch-up, making your entire day feel chaotic. Why put yourself through that? Why not take control of your time instead of letting it control you? There's a story about a CEO who was never late, not once. One day, at a high-level meeting, some attendees showed up late. The CEO simply stood up and said, "Time is the most valuable resource we have. If you can't respect that, you can't be part of this team." Then he walked out. The latecomers quickly realized how costly their lack of discipline had been. Punctuality is more than just a habit, it's a statement about your character. If you find yourself constantly running late, take a step back and ask why. Are you overcommitting, failing to plan, or underestimating travel time? Once you identify the root cause, you can fix it. Being on time isn't about setting your alarm earlier, it's about shifting your mindset. You may have heard the saying, "Early is on time is late, late is unacceptable." This perspective can transform the way you approach time. Instead of treating punctuality as a burden, see it as a sign of self-respect and discipline. People notice when you're reliable. They trust you more. They respect you more. And when you respect other people's time, they in turn respect yours. Epictetus wisely said, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." If you see yourself as someone worthy of respect, you must act in a way that commands it. And few things command respect as effortlessly as showing up on time. Before we wrap up, I want to challenge you to take these lessons beyond just words. Apply them, whether it's taking full responsibility for your actions, cutting out gossip, or showing up on time with intention. Every small change shapes the person you become. Respect isn't demanded, it's earned through daily choices. Which habit will you tackle first? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your journey. And if this video gave you something to think about, Don't forget to like and subscribe, not just for more content, but as a commitment to your own growth. Remember, self-mastery is a lifelong pursuit, not a destination. Every step forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to the person you aspire to be. Stay strong, stay disciplined, and I'll see you in the next video, where we'll dive even deeper into the mindset that leads to true respect and resilience. Have you ever walked away from a conversation wishing you had said less or nothing at all? In a world that never stops talking, silence has become a rare and powerful virtue. We're surrounded by noise, opinions, arguments, constant reactions. But the Stoics knew something we often forget. The most commanding voice in the room is sometimes the one that chooses not to speak. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion." That wasn't indifference, it was mastery. Silence, when chosen with wisdom, is not weakness, it's strength under control, a form of resistance, a way to rise above chaos without adding to it. But when is silence more than just golden? When does it become necessary? Today we'll explore 9 moments in life when silence isn't just wise, it's transformational. Moments when keeping your mouth shut could protect your peace, sharpen your judgment, and earn you quiet respect. If any part of you is tired of reacting and ready to respond with intention, this journey is for you. Take a breath, settle in, and let's begin. Number 1. When being criticized unfairly. Have you ever been hit with a comment so off base, so wildly unfair, that your whole body tensed up? Maybe a colleague blamed you for a failed project you barely touched, or a friend twisted your words and painted you as the villain in a story that never happened. It stings because it feels unjust, and your first instinct is to fight back, to defend, to correct the record. But what if those very moments, the ones that make your blood boil, are actually the perfect training ground for strength? The Stoics believed that external insults are powerless unless we give them permission to affect us. As Emperor Hadrian once wrote, "It is not the words of others that harm us, but our interpretation of them. The insult doesn't wound you, your reaction does, and that's within your control." Imagine you're at a family dinner. Out of nowhere, your uncle, a self-proclaimed financial guru, remarks, "I'm honestly surprised you're still getting by with your spending habits. You could list every smart decision you've made, bring up your savings account, maybe even throw in the time he lost money on a bad investment." But a Stoic would choose a different path. They would pause, breathe, and understand this is not about truth, it's about projection. His comment says more about his own insecurities than your financial reality. Seneca, another great Stoic thinker, taught that criticism, especially the unfair kind, is a mirror. Sometimes it reflects more of the speaker than the target. But even in the worst of insults, there may be a sliver of insight. Could it be time to revisit your budget? Adjust your habits if so. Use the criticism, not because it was fair, but because you are wise enough to grow from anything. And then, let silence do the rest. Not every attack deserves a response. Sometimes, the most powerful move is none at all. Like a fighter who never throws a punch. Just stand still while the other tires themselves out. Your silence exposes their noise. So next time you're unfairly criticized, ask yourself, is this really about me? Is there something to learn? And what will silence say that words cannot? Let your calm be your rebuttal. Let your composure be your legacy. Number 2, Stay silent in the presence of boasting. There's a particular kind of noise that tests our ego, not conflict, not insult, but boasting. You've felt it. Someone in the room won't stop talking about their achievements, their success, their brilliance. Maybe it's a colleague flaunting a promotion, or a friend who suddenly turned every conversation into a TED talk about their grind. You feel the pull, the urge to counter, to prove that you're just as accomplished, if not more. But here is where Stoicism steps in. The Stoics teach that real confidence has nothing to prove. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. In other words, don't get drawn into the contest. Let your actions speak, not your words. Imagine this. You're at a dinner and one guest, let's call him Victor, is in full performance mode. He's recounting his recent real estate deal, his meditation streak, and how he now runs 5 miles before sunrise. You consider jumping in with your own quiet wins, but you don't. Instead, you listen, you stay silent, not because you're impressed, but because you don't need validation. That silence rooted in self-assurance is what sets you apart. It's not passivity, it's poise. Seneca reminds us, it is a great thing to know the season for speech and the season for silence. In moments of empty boasting, silence becomes your strength. It shows you're not measuring yourself by someone else's yardstick. You're on your own path, calm, focused, steady. Epictetus took it even further. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Why? Because when you stop needing to be seen, you begin to truly grow. So next time you're surrounded by self-congratulation, don't compete, don't compare. Just listen, smile, let others reveal their hunger for attention, while you remain grounded in your own quiet confidence. Because sometimes the most powerful presence in the room is the one that says nothing and still commands respect. Number 3, when dealing with anger, anger is like a sudden storm. It hits fast, blinds us, and leaves behind regret in its wake. 1 minute you're calm, the next you're on fire. Your heart races, your thoughts spin, and reason disappears. And yet, the truth is simple. Anger only has as much power as we allow it to have. The Stoics never said we should suppress anger. They taught us to understand it, to master it, because real strength isn't about never feeling anger, it's about not letting anger make decisions for you. Imagine this, you're exhausted, standing in line at the grocery store. Finally, it's your turn when someone boldly cuts in front of you. No apology, no glance, just blatant disrespect. Your fists clench, your mind starts scripting the perfect comeback. But then you pause. That pause is everything. In that silence, you've done what most people can't. You've chosen mastery over reaction. As Emperor Antoninus Pius once advised, let not your mind run on what you lack as much as on what you have already. In this case, you have the power to choose peace. Anger feels like defense, but more often it's destruction. A sharp retort at a coworker might cost you trust. Yelling at a loved one might cause wounds that linger. The Stoics understood this well. They believed the consequences of anger are nearly always worse than its cause. That doesn't mean you become passive or let people disrespect you. It means you learn to respond with intention, not impulse. And when something truly needs to be addressed, you handle it with clarity, not rage, The Stoic philosopher Mucius Rufus taught that most anger comes not from events themselves, but from our expectations. We expect fairness, kindness, and order. When life doesn't meet those ideals, frustration follows. But if you shift your perspective, if you stop expecting the world to act as you wish, you begin to regain control. Silence in the heat of anger isn't weakness, it's strategy. It buys you time to think, to breathe, to redirect that energy into something that serves you. Anger, when transformed, can fuel progress, but when left unchecked, it burns everything, including you. So next time fury rises, choose silence. Let it be the space where your better self steps in. Number 4, stay silent in the face of false rumors. Rumors are like smoke. They drift fast, cloud judgment, and often leave a stain long after the fire dies down. One person whispers, another embellishes, and soon you're the subject of a story that bears little resemblance to truth. The urge to respond is immediate, to defend, to correct, to make it stop. But here's the Stoic response: don't, because sometimes silence is stronger than any speech. When people spread lies or twist your words, your first instinct might be to chase every rumor down, to explain, to plead your case. But in doing so, you can end up fueling the very thing you're trying to extinguish. As Seneca wisely said, time discovers truth, and truth, unlike gossip, needs no defense. It only needs patience. Silence in the midst of slander is not weakness, it's discipline. It's choosing not to dignify falsehoods with your energy. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. The opinions of others are beyond your control, but your response is entirely yours. Imagine you're at work, and suddenly there's talk that you're the reason a project failed. You know it's untrue. You want to clear your name. Send that email, confront the source. But you don't. Instead, you stay composed. You let your actions speak. You let time do its work. And what happens? The rumor fades. The truth, slow but steady, rises to the surface. And people begin to see not just the facts, but your poise under pressure. That's the power of Stoic silence. It's not about ignoring injustice. It's about refusing to let lies pull you into a game you didn't ask to play. You stay focused on what you can control: your work, your values, your integrity. Rumors may circle, but character stands still.